Are we on our second repurposing estimate?
Because it's still a work in process. The closer we get to the November 8th, the more confidence that we have to have that what we're telling you is in fact possible. If in fact we got to the point where we said before November 8th that we knew something had come into the equation that radically changed what Bob put up tonight, and we had to start changing the scope back to that question, or taking something out of the equation, we would be coming to you prior to the November 8th and say, this is what we're thinking, and keeping you in the mix so that you can make an informed decision. This is just trying to make sure that what we're telling you as of October 10th is different than it was on November 21st, and we know that, so we wanted to tell you.
Voting question. Do I need to give a written instruction to my delegate as to how I want to vote, even though I indicated how I want to vote on my signed and dated ballot? This is what I read, and it sounds absurd.
Well, it is absurd, because what you gave them was your written directed ballot, and so you don't have to do anything else.
Three-part question. What's happening to the window wall? Will it be part of the remodel?
I'm assuming that you're talking the window wall in the great room, and nothing has changed on that. Where now the open void is, where the grand staircase is, will be what we call the grand room. There will be a window wall there, and there's a window wall planned in the Shabano room. There was discussion about turning what's the wall in the Eagle's Nest on the west side, where the windows are now, into what's called a nano wall. A nano wall is one that opens to the outside. We think that's a cool idea, but we're not sure how they work when the heater is on or the air conditioner is on. And so that didn't really get any legs to it to change that wall. So the two glass walls are still in there.
I think you addressed the second part, which is, will part of it be removed?
Right.
And then the third, will old men and women's locker rooms remain?
No, there's a dramatic improvement into the locker rooms. If you take a look at the drawings outside, they've been greatly expanded, and we think much nicer, as well as additional showers in the form of rinse showers in the pool area.
The 2018 budget projects $124,000 loss from operations. What is the projected loss from the restaurant on a standalone basis?
The budgeted loss for food and beverage in 2018 is $129,000.
Why are you so reticent to the suggestions that you do this project one step at a time when the funds are available, rather than incurring a loan with interest costs?
Just a difference of opinion. You can certainly do it either way, and not to say that your way isn't right. We just believe, A, it's more expensive, more disruptive to the community, taking away the amenities that we all want to enjoy. Doesn't mean we're right and you're wrong. It's just a different way of doing it.
Once the project is approved, how much will it cost to determine the feasibility?
Well, we've got the phase 2 in there for $35,000, and then we start to accumulate in that all those design costs that Bob went into. We've got $650,000 for furniture, fixtures, and accessories, and design fees, and so that is in that design fee part of it.
How many people want a wine and coffee bar?
Don't know, and certainly once we get there, that's really a no-cost item relative to the repurposing project. When we get ready to pull the trigger on that, we'll say, how many of you want it? And we'll be able to answer your question.
Drilling down further, what is the operational cost of the wine and coffee bar?
Don't know, haven't figured it.
What is the P&L on the wine and coffee bar?
Don't know, haven't figured it.
How many hours and how many personnel hours are needed?
Don't know.
Can we do a smaller upgrade?
Yes, we could. But our project this is a project designed by professionals with resident input that we're asking that each homeowner approve. And so this is the project that's on the table. There could be a smaller one in the future.
Removing the stairs makes a beautiful entranceway, but does not give any more meeting rooms, which is one of the reasons for the repurposing. Could cut the cost.
We disagree. We gain one additional meeting room. We lose the Shivano. We gain the billiards and the library. Plus 2 minus 1, we gain 1.
Why does Gene Bloom get a bonus from OB Sports and HEB HOA? Is this true or rumor?
We don't discuss personnel, but I can tell you that your premise is incorrect.
How is the amount determined?
That's an obese question. I don't know the answer.
Is it true you're double paying?
Incorrect, and that's a salary issue, personnel issue.
Is it possible for a household to submit a letter to a delegate directing that their vote counts as an absentee rather than a yes or no vote? Or an abstention, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did put abstain into the questions 1, 2, or 3, and I'm not sure that we have a legal opinion on that.
I have to really defer to
Yeah.
Wendy on this.
Yeah.
I haven't heard back from the attorney.
Okay, we're asking that question, we just haven't got the answer. So, if whomever wrote that question, if you come up to Gary after the meeting's over, we'll get your name and get you the answer to that.
Due to HEB's unusual voting process, if the outcome of the vote goes against the majority of those voting, do you believe that is in the best outcome for the community?
Well, the last thing in the world we wanted is a divided community. I was talking to some friends out in the lobby before we began. We get a sense that this is divided as we've ever seen it. We regret that. But you know, at the end of the day, that's an individual decision. You know, perhaps if you voted for Trump, you're happy. If you voted for Clinton, you're not happy. But the country moves on. We would hope that the way that our form of government works is that you go with the decision that the majority of the people want, and then it's up to every man and woman to either embrace it or reject it, whether or not to be whatever.
Because of the importance of majority rule, will the board consider directing all delegates to cast ballots proportionately so we have a true sense of what the majority wants?
We do not have that power per the CC&Rs. If you do not give the delegate a directed ballot by the CC&Rs, they can vote one of 2 ways, as they feel like or proportionally. We strongly, unanimously support and suggest that all delegates use the proportional amount. So as far as we can go, so far as we telling them individually and collectively, we think that's the right thing to do, we can't make them do it.
Very similar question. The delegates are in a position to sway the decision against the majority of those voting. Can the delegates be required to represent the wishes of their district by voting proportionally?
Same question, same answer.
What are the cost savings associated with removing the fireplaces at Eagle's Nest? And what are the advantages to having a large open space? That design usually makes it harder to hear and takes away from the ambiance.
Don't know what the, was it cost savings?
Cost savings.
Don't know what the gas savings is going to be, that we're not going to have that gas bill. We do think that we can get at least one more table in there, and whatever proportional revenue we can get by that.
I think it's a cost benefit, cost to remove it and savings for doing it.
Okay.
What are the projected costs related to the structural report, moving the staircase, building a new terrace, moving the bar?
We have cost as reflected in this slide that says the cost in the upper level is $1.5 million and the cost in the lower level is $825,000. That's as definitive as we can be right now.
How many bids were obtained? How many drawings, proposals were reviewed?
At this point in time, I'm not sure, I think you're talking about the architect. The architecture was sole source selected based upon their expertise The sweet spot for Marsh and Associates being club design and club remodeling. We went through the Finance and the Facility and Grounds Committee and the Finance Advisory Committee. Both of those endorsed that, and the board approved it on that basis.
The exterior view of the clubhouse is stunning. Why would we ruin the look of the large window with the terrace that eliminates light into the building and that takes away from the beauty of the exterior of the building?
It's just it's just what an architect thinks would enhance the view out versus looking at the building from outside in. We're saying if we're here in the great room or out on that terrace and looking out toward the mountains, we think that it's worth making that change. Just a difference of opinion.
If a coffee/wine bar is important, was any consideration given to using the library? It could be repurposed with those bars and comfortable chairs very easily.
Sure. No, our objective was to gain meeting rooms, and so that was not considered.
If the proposed changes are being made for homeowners, will homeowners have top priority of common spaces like the great room area? Or is this room being built to increase weddings and corporate revenues?
Residents always have top priority.
Wasn't there a noise abatement project just completed? Will those tiles be destroyed in the renovation?
No, they will not be destroyed.
What is the name of the bank that is offering the loan package with our deed as collateral?
Well, first of all, nobody's got a deed on the table to correct that view. What you've got is your HOA fee, the capital improvement fund portion of your homeowner's dues. So no deeds on here.
I have to correct myself, Steve. It actually says dues.
Okay. And so, do you want?
We contacted 4 banks, 2 banks, U.S. Bank and Bank of America, came back with very attractive offers. Very excited about the project. We shared with them the projections that were on the earlier slide. At this stage, should the project be approved along with the method of securing the financing on November 8th, I will go back to those 2 banks and ask for their final and best proposal, and one of them will be selected, and we'll start the loan application process at that time.
While serving on another HOA board, we worked to repair and renovate the HOA swimming pool. The board required 5 bids. With 5 bids, the board was able to determine pricing differences for similar items, and it helped determine needs. We worked in a collaborative effort. How many bids was HEB board required to obtain?
I've already answered the question once. We normally, anything for over $10,000, we normally get 3 bids. In this case, we did not for the reasons that I've already said.
Is it the board's opinion that the plans will increase revenues? If so, how?
We're not coming at it from that direction, and we don't know the answer.
If revenues are not increased by the repurposing, what is the backup plan?
Again, we're not coming at it from that direction. So relative to that question, we don't have a backup plan.
If there is no interest in increasing revenues, why are we upgrading at a cost of $3 million?
At the very bottom line of all that equation is not only for our enhanced enjoyment of this community, but also to maintain and increase the value of our homes when people come out here and look at whether or not they should buy next door or here sometime during the next 8 to 9 years. We want them to buy here.
How many weddings are held at HEB each year? What is the net profit from those weddings? If the board doesn't know, will you post the answer on the HEB website when you do know?
We'll certainly, yeah, we can get that information of how many weddings that we want to, that we hold on an average basis. I don't think we want to put out for the world what's the average, I think the average profit or average revenue.
Profit.
I don't think we want to put out for, you know, if Bob and Cheryl's granddaughter's coming out here, well, no, let's say they don't live in HEB and they know that we've got an average of $25,000 profit per wedding, I think they'll be coming in and saying, how about taking $5,000 off of that top line? I don't think we want to do that. We'll certainly get back to you with the number of weddings.
What is the purpose of another terrace? What is the cost of the terrace? If the board does not know the answer, when will we know?
Well, we won't know, well, it's just an amenity off of the great room. Would that be something, for example, if the scope needed to be adjusted, would that be something that might be in the equation? Well, first of all, everything would be in the equation, but that might be for a lot of you saying, what the heck, we don't use that patio to capacity now, so why are you putting on an addition? Don't know the answer. And what it will cost when we get the final numbers, then we would be able to answer that question.
Why do we need to repurpose?
Same answer about at the bottom line, in a better enjoyment amenity for us as a community and to maintain and enhance our value.
Were there bonuses paid to OB Sports? If so, how were they calculated?
That's a personnel issue. It is part of the contract that there is an incentive clause in there, and then they make that decision as to how they disperse those funds.
The third question on here is simply budget/construction.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a question.
That was the whole, that was it. Budget/construction.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Why is there so much controversy regarding the proposal? How long do you think this will take?
Well, the last part first, as we said, 6 to 7 months to do it once we take a hammer to the first part of the project. Why is there so much controversy? There's legitimate differences of opinion. Some people think we shouldn't do it at all. Some people think that some of the things that they think are true, we would not agree with as being true. But there's just honest differences of opinion. That's the worst thing, I already touched on this, the divisiveness right now is at an all-time high. We're not playing on the playground of Heritage next door. We're not choosing to go there. We believe that we're absolutely telling you the facts as we know them, and I'm sure that they would say that they were doing the same thing, but it's creating controversy.
I do not understand why we're in such a hurry to pass this project. Why can't we vote on part of the individual projects instead of all or nothing?
Already asked and already answered.
Steve, apparently we will have a cold, snowy winter, especially as compared with the past few years. And we hear Row is understaffed, even in the summer.
We would agree. And it goes back to the same position about we're understaffed in the restaurant, we're understaffed on course services, and we're understaffed on the porters. We need your help. We're trying to do everything we can, meaning management, to find qualified men and women to work here.
Using the process of actuals and projecting September through December, will or how will Row be able to meet snow removal pushing responsibilities?
That's a management question, and I don't know the answer to that, although we'll do the best we can. In fact, we may have to wait longer for our streets to get opened up as a consequence of that. That's not what we want, and certainly not what Row wants.
Reserve expenditures for ADA, 2 restrooms. Does this include push-button auto door opening of the main restroom doors?
Don't know if that's a part of that equation. I haven't studied it to that degree, but it is part of the reserve study is ADA compliance.
If not, they are not really ADA and should not be approved under that guise.
Okay.
What happens to our dues if number 3, 17-6, does not pass an HOA favor?
Well, I think, as I understand your question, it will go down from 168 to 156. Your dues will decrease by $12. If your question is just the reverse of that, it would stay at 168. It wouldn't go down to $12.
Will the board instruct the delegates to report the actual number of votes for yes and the number for no on each issue
Yes.
to be voted on?
Yes.
And cast votes in that specific way?
Yes.
Is not Marsh and Associates, the architect hired for the repurposing, noted specific for its expertise in golf and country club resorts, boutique motels and spas, but has not designed any facilities for HOAs?
Well, I don't know the answer to, I'm not sure how your question goes. Their sweet spot is clubhouse design and remodeling, whether it's a clubhouse for a country club or a clubhouse for this. You know, interestingly enough, several of the legal papers have this place being Heritage Eagle Bend Country Club as the official designation of it. So do with that what you will.
What is the name of the lawyer and the law firm issuing the tax opinion, and is it in writing?
Already answered that question. It will be in writing, and when it's in writing, you'll know the answers.
Why has the board skipped the competitive bid process and hired the architectural firm of Marsh and Associates based on whatever they bid?
We believe that that was in the best interest to get the best product and the expertise in what we're trying to attain on the clubhouse remodel and repurposing.
Why does the repurposing have to be all or nothing? I've heard several express a desire to do part of it, but not to change the entryway stairs part, including the great room and sitting area.
Already asked, already answered.
Golfers pay to join a league and also for each round played. Do players of tennis, pickleball, and bocce? If no, why not?
No, they do not. And that's certainly been something that has been discussed in the past. I don't have a good answer for it as to why some people do and some people don't. I don't have a good answer for it.
What steps are being taken to stop the losses in the restaurant operations?
We're always trying to manage that operation as best we can. But again, we've already discussed the business model that restaurant runs against, which is somewhat constricted by what we can do in there.
The golf committee recommended that the sand trap be moved. The pickleball club requested additional courts. Both of these were presented to the board. Will you retract your statement?
No, none of that was officially presented to the board. And I resent being given the finger on that. Let me tell you something. Motions are given to this board at board meetings. There has never been a motion brought to this board at a board meeting and ruled upon yes or no. So your finger is inappropriate at any time.
Is 2017 the only year that you needed to get a vote on returns of funds to members?
As I explained earlier, each year will stand alone. This year we predict we'll have $176,000 of excess revenue, and that's what will be regiven. Each year will stand alone.
Is the loan to be secured by all the membership dues or just the capital assessments?
So that, I'm sorry.
Is the loan to be secured by all the membership dues or just the capital assessment?
In the discussions I've had with the bank so far, we've only discussed securing the future cash flows from just the assessment for the capital improvement fund. And so I will verify when I ask them should the project be approved, I will ask them as part of their firm term sheet to confirm that that will be the case. I expect it to be, but once the application is completed and then the loan process and loan committee process kicks in, they may come back, but I don't know that they will. But at this stage, we've only talked about securing that cash flow from that $15 per month.
Is there unanimity among the board that it is okay to continue the restaurant losses?
Does anybody disagree with that? It is unanimous.
If the restaurant is open to the public, why aren't we marketing the restaurant in magazines with coupons like Parkway Grill and Hickory House and other restaurants? Example, $5 off on a dinner with expiration dates. Will there be a diapering table in the unisex bathroom by the Wyndham Room?
I don't know the answer to the second question. The first part of the question, our marketing director is over there filming this today. He does market outside of this community. Whether or not we've got coupons are going, I'm really not sure, but I can tell you that we're trying to do innovative things at all times to increase the attendance in there, and I'll talk to the general manager, see if there is something else that we haven't explored. I mean, that might be certainly a very valid suggestion.
In a project as big as repurposing, why is there not a forecast for lost revenue and a plan to recapture?
One of the things that we said in our presentation was that the impact of potential clubhouse repurposing on operating budget does not reflect the impact of the operations of the potential, and once approved, if it is, then we will do that reforecast. We have built it on what we need, but we don't know if you're going to approve the project. Go ahead.
Why $400,000 increase in budget from 2017 forecast to 2018 budget appears excessive?
I'm sorry, Gary.
Why $400,000 increase in budget from 2017 forecast to 2018 budget appears excessive?
400,000.
Not sure where that came from, but the forecast amount that what we expect that we're going to finish the year at versus the budget, which was what, 50 versus 176? Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, it was primarily as a result of much lower than budgeted payroll and burden cost. And then there was further savings in total operating expenses.
Okay.
What is the difference in the $5 increase in the capital improvement fund and the $5 increase in the reserve fund? Isn't this a double whammy concerning the repurposing project?
Those are standalone funds. The reserve amount is based upon the outcome of end of life or useful life of all the assets that we own. We currently have over $22 million in assets in this community. Each of them have an end of life value associated with them. So the replacement schedule and the amount forecasted to replace them in the years out in the future is what is saying we need to be accumulating at $80 a month. It's totally separate, just happens to be the same number, that we say in order to do what we want to do in the capital improvement fund, that too is an additional $5. So they both just coincidentally happen to be a $5 increase.
Who monitors the delegates to make sure the residents' vote is counted as cast?
The board is certainly going to be looking at that as we tally the votes, make sure that we've got as many directed votes. We'd like 100% of directed ballots to take the heat off of the delegates for them. They're getting a very bum rap on this thing. And I'll tell you, I don't know about your district. My district has the same delegate this year that they had last year, and for a very good reason. Nobody else wants the job. If you don't like the job that they're doing, raise your hand. They'll be glad to step aside.
How can you budget a $67,000 increase in food and beverage in 2018, not taking into account the food and beverage will suffer during repurposing?
We've already answered that we didn't take that into effect when we made the budget, and we do believe, based upon the trends that we're seeing for catering that we've already booked, as well as other factors, that we think that food and beverage is going to do better in 18.
Last card that I have. Since we have no employees, why are we paying out bonuses and payroll in the budget?
That's what? Since we do have or don't
Since
have?
we have no employees, why are we paying out bonuses and payroll?
Well, let me ask you a question. If an operation, the budget for this year was 50,000 and change, and we're saying we're going to make 176 and change, and our employees get to share in that because they are the ones that have helped us earn that amount of money, They have exceeded our expectations. But that's at the end of the day, OB makes those decisions as to how their employees are compensated. Any other questions?
Well, let me ask, did anyone submit a question that I didn't read? Want to go ahead and ask it?
Go ahead and ask it.
My question was regarding the restaurant. What's the thoughts of contracting to an outside chain, such as Outback?
We did ask, it was asked, and we did answer. Yeah. It's okay. I saw you nodding over there. It was asked, and we did answer.
I'm sorry, I had one other question. Was that with delegates? The options that delegates have, we have directive votes, and then our options are that we can vote anybody that did not respond to the ballot question.
You can vote one of two ways.
One of two ways.
As you feel, or as in proportion to the number of yeses and nos that you got.
Correct. But I thought I heard you say that you wanted delegates to vote on a proportional.
No, what I said is it's our belief that that's the right way to do it. That's just our belief. It's not a mandate. It's not a directive. We just think that that's the right thing to do.
Okay, but when we had the delegate meeting, that was not described that way.
Okay?
When we had the delegate meeting, it was one or the other. And there was no directional.
Okay, I sent to each one of you last Friday a detailed what it says in legalese and what this means. Did all the delegates, did you get it, Tom? Yes. So look for that, Fred. It's in there, and share that with your district so that they know that you're doing exactly what's written in the CC&Rs. Okay, Gary, I think we can hear you from up here. Go ahead.
Yes, my last question wasn't answered.
Okay.
How much is the restaurant losing on a standalone basis? Not the food and beverage operations, which includes catering. The restaurant in 2017 will lose how much money?
Oh, no, that I have that information. Go ahead.
We don't account for it in that fashion. We account for all of the revenues by type of source, but the costs to operate are all pooled without regard.
Okay, yes, ma'am, one time.
Okay, you keep referring to these restrictions of the community on the restaurant,
Constraints.
constraints.
Right.
Where can I find these constraints? Are they written out? Are they, I
No.
don't know what these constraints are.
Right. They're really just the way that we run our business. Are you a golfer?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you play in any of the organized women's leagues? No. Well, there are women's leagues on Tuesday and on Thursday, and each Tuesday and Thursday, we know that they're going to be coming into the restaurant for lunch, okay? And so the number of tables that are available, for example, to the outside, for us to market, if you will, for lunch on Tuesday and Thursday is impacted by the fact that we have resident golfers coming in here. Same thing with the MGA on Wednesdays and so forth. And so to accommodate and give our residents precedent, the way that we run our business, both on the golf course and on food and beverage, says that we must make allowance for knowing that our residents are going to be taking precedent on those kinds of pieces. Now that's just an example. It's the way that we run the club.
Okay, I don't want to get into a debate with you on this. Okay, if you're a resident here and you know what days that happens, you're not going to go to the restaurant on that day. However, you'll go on another day if they serve good food.
Okay, so that's your real complaint, is that you don't like the quality of the food, not the availability of the table. I understand, and that's certainly your prerogative to have that feeling. Okay, folks, again, thank you for staying this late, and thank you.